Well, they just wish I'd be glued to that chair. But I sit in that chair because I like to see me on TV.
Do we have an agenda?
I'm glad you came in because it's there. My form. The form, I'm putting it in early. Hey, Urs, I just remember one time one person came to this podium and the, Joyce had a disagreement with them about something and they got mad at her and she said, "Don't you insult me like that." And he said something back and I went like, then Joyce asked me after the meeting, Sammy, what is this? I said, "I tried to turn him into an aardvark for you and didn't work." She laughed hysterically. And then she said, "You're not, Sammy, you're not a witch." She said, "Sammy, you're not a witch."
Oh, well, thank you.
Well, me and Joyce, we just had a time with each other. well, well, I was concerned because if anyone made her mad, I wanted to make sure she was all right. They made her mad, they'd be a lovely aardvark. Hmm?
I want you to sign in.
Here you go.
Oh, no, she'll get it back. What's her name? Just set it up there on that corner.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm all right. they will be, because it looks stupid with all these people going across the Meriwether Road railroad track and getting by with it when the train's coming. Quit it.
Hello, y'all. Hey, Mr. Dar, how are you?
You're a glutton for punishment this afternoon.
I guess one probably would say that, but why?
It's gonna be a long afternoon. You're here at 1:30 and not sure.
No, because they have an infrastructure.
I know,
meeting.
that's why I'm here.
Oh,
Hold on.
yeah.
I'm gonna sit through this church tea time and go home and walk and scream the other. Nice day to be in.
Okay, we are trying something for this meeting.
Yeah.
There is a backup plan if that doesn't work for 3 o'clock. Just to see how it plays. Let's just go ahead and say it. I took one for the team.
Where is Ren
Well, there
Court
was
at,
a
John?
Zoom call.
Where?
Ren Court.
I got on.
Ren?
Ren.
And I realized, if they were gonna come down and
That's
test
what they
it,
had.
probably somebody ought to be in the chamber to talk.
I'm not saying South.
So I volunteered,
Yeah.
because I couldn't help the
Said
nurse.
Southwest Springfield, I don't know.
You did
It had to be, it should have been several times in the back of his car.
really?
Yeah.
Was somebody in front with you?
We could ask the chief about
Hey,
it.
Chief, where is Ren Court at?
Shot several times in his back while I was in the car. So,
Somebody had to be in the back seat if you got shot in the
Well,
back.
I hope it,
Hey, Mr. Man.
How are y'all doing?
All right.
How are you?
Told us to be here, we're coming. Yes, sir. Which one of you gonna talk? I don't think so. Nobody can help us. It may be a conglomeration.
Since Trump in here, we cutting back on tissue.
Oh, I need some cream.
We cutting back on tissue with Trump in there. If we had just been back, hell, I'd have been up here so long.
This time.
I got to go to the chamber.
Boy,
Gotta go.
Jerry said you had you laughing so much yesterday.
Oh, I did.
I said, what y'all were laughing at? He said, I ain't gonna tell you everything. He said, we were laughing though. Jerry. It was on the phone. Oh, Cause baby, he had you rolling. And then Gary called me.
Somebody gets service.
I know, I told her, thank you. I was gonna get up and go get it.
Well, you get one of you gets coffee, one of you gets a straw. Okay, I'm gonna show you.
Sugar. What's sugar? Put coffee on it.
It's good.
Smells good. I don't like coffee. but
I
it does
needed it though.
smell
I was sleepy. I needed this.
I'll fix that.
We see you, Sam. We see you.
I saw that.
That's a joke. Yeah, that's a joke.
Coffee for all.
Hey, Michael, speaking about jokes, I remember one time I was watching Sonny and Cher, and he was talking about how love and marriage take in a marriage together. And Cher said, love means never having to say you're son. He said, no, Cher, it's never having to say you're sorry. I'm Sonny. I'm sorry. Stupidest joke I had ever heard. Then he said, I grew up around the horse. How is your mother? Oh, that's love. Even for Cher.
We'd like to say good afternoon and welcome to the Planning and Infrastructure GIS Committee meeting. Today, February 25th, 2025, 1:35. we're going to call the meeting to order. And again, I'd just like to say welcome. And those of you that like to have comments, we will have that opportunity for you to do so. And with that said, we are at the public comments. So if you have some public comments, you might come now. Anyone like to speak? Okay, Sammy?
Yes, I'm going to. Sammy Mears, 1133 South Point Parkway, 71105. I've been really disgusted since I've been hearing a lot of words going around with the people who are supposed to be running the Oak Meadows apartments, and they're not doing anything to take care of it like they were supposed to, and then they start trying to do something to tear them down in the wrong way. And when word gets around that they're just trying to burn and that they're doing all that, I don't know if they've been caught on camera or not, but I do feel like that it's not right for them to do things like that. And I think that this needs to be checked into, because if they're doing a thing like that, trying to burn Oak Meadows just to tear them down to rebuild them, they need to be dealt with immediately by the police. This is just ridiculous. The place I lived at for a long time, and they're going to try to do something like that, I'm not going to put up with it. I want something done.
Thank you. Anyone else with public comments at this time? If not, we will have a motion for the approval of the September 10th, 2024 meetings. Moved by Councilwoman Taylor, second by Councilwoman Bowman. Are there any questions or comments? If not, they have been approved. Aye. First upon the agenda is the update on substations, main police station, and fire stations. So on the substations, Mr. Dork, would you give us
I ought to ask you to give us one on the West Shreveport substation. I understand you're there pretty often lately.
Yeah, I've been there because the last meeting, if you recall, I asked how was it going, because it was always locked up. And so on last week, the lock, they got a big padlock on it, but they was open. You have to have a combination to get in. I called the chief to see how could I get in. And at the time, one of his officers was driving up, and she carried me in, and I took a whole tour. And in the back of the substation, I guess you call that the one where traffic is going to be. In the back of it, they got a big piece of plastic back there. So I asked the officer, what does that mean? And she said that they had checked for mold, and they had sampled another area for mold. But whatever that area was, it was not mold, but they got a big piece of plastic all wrapped up, big heavy plastic. And so she said that was out for mold. So I don't know if you was aware of it last meeting, Mr. Dark, but that's what was going. You had said about a wall, but the wall was the wall because it was a wall of mold. So is there, Chief, do you know an update? Mr. Dark, do you know an update? Were you aware of it?
I was aware, yes, sir.
Huh?
I was aware because they were trying to see whether it was just there or someplace else, and then they were going to do the remediation and then replace the wall. Chief.
So when you said the wall, were you saying they were building a wall, or they was tearing down a wall?
What they found was that there had been, apparently at some point when the building was vacant, there had been a leak that had gotten a little bit behind the wall, and they were going to have to replace a little bit of that sheetrock just to get rid of that. Where are they, Wayne? 'Cause
It's getting fixed. My understanding, the contractors have been there and is removing the wall, or the water leak has been repaired, so it's underway to get repaired.
Chief, you saying water leak, she said mold. So is it a water leak mold, or is it a mold water leak?
It's a mold that was
Shelley's-
caused by a water leak.
Okay. But it's mold. Is it throughout the whole building, or it's just?
No, sir. It was just there. That's all we know of. So Shelley can
So
She's done
rescue
originally,
groups,
and
yeah.
Russell's here too because of we can talk about design. Originally, where that wall is used to be outside. There used to be an outside wall. And they enclosed it at some point. Not we didn't, they did. When we moved in, there were some things we were doing in that area for the door to make that door shut better. When they did, we noticed mold behind the sheetrock. We called the environmentalist, he came, it's all been cleaned up. He tested all the other walls, all the other building, and there was nothing else in the building except that place where water had been getting in years ago. So we took the wall out. It's been cleaned up. I've seen pictures of it today. It's nice and pretty, and they will then start putting everything back. But they tested all the air quality throughout the building, and that was the only place they found it. And they were able to look, I think, with some cameras and some other things in other locations to make sure.
Okay.
So.
All right.
And then did you go through the West Shreveport, the new substation? You didn't get a chance to walk
No.
it yet.
Okay.
I went through it a Saturday, and they were out hanging sheetrock. It is going ahead of schedule, and I think around August was the target date, but I think it's going to be well before that when they get through, and we'll be able to begin transitioning that way.
Okay. Shelley, when you said, did I check the west, were you talking about on Monkhouse?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah, I almost run out of gas. I've been up there so much, but, oh, yeah, I didn't know. Yeah, but I talked to the contractor one day up there, and they said that they were going to possibly be finished with it by the end of March. So I don't know.
I don't quite see that happening, but it's a possibility. I would probably still stick with the July, August date.
Okay, so,
They brought in brick today. We got truckloads of brick there.
okay. So I don't know who answered this, Mr. Dark or you, but since September the 16th, when we had the emergency call for the substations, how many substations are open at this particular time?
Okay, the temporary one on North Market, I believe, opened last week. We will be moving into Sunset Acres, I believe next week, either next week or the week after, but
The 6th, I think,
it's
is
next
kind of
week.
the target date.
when is it?
The 6th of March.
Okay, so it'll be the next one. Obviously, we're still kind of in limbo on Line Avenue. We'll find out pretty soon what the owner thinks there. We are looking, I think we have agreed, as I think I told a couple of y'all yesterday, we had been talking about the old Summer Grove United Methodist. Looks like we've moved away from that and are looking at the former Ivy's floor covering at Kingston and Burt Coons. And I know the chief and his crew were there with the owner, last Friday,
That's correct.
trying to determine what he had to do in order to get them in. Who goes there clearly is going to be Area 4. Depending on what happens on Line Avenue, will determine whether Area 2 ends up there for a little while. But that's where we are right now. And the other news is that the South Point Parkway location is getting closer to being ready to move in as well. So hopefully that's toward the end of the month. I don't know where the IT part of that is, and that seems to be the getting the phones and the internet and all that stuff. Most of that's private contractors that do that. And it's been a little more frustrating than we like as far as getting it done quickly. But that's where we are as far as moving. The last group to move will be whoever's going into Ivy's, no matter who that is. But that's where we are right now. Again, we're trying to get the building empty as quickly as we can. The last groups will be the ones from Patrol Area 2 and 4. And of course, the one on North Shreveport is out for bids, I believe right now, or about to be, because I think the bid date I saw was March 25th or something like that for the North Shreveport one.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, Chief, talk to us about the main police station. How is it coming on, or where we are?
The architect is working very diligently to get, a product that can be sent out for bid. Met with the architect week before last. they had already given me a preliminary sketch, a drawing of the facade and the interior makeup, and we really needed some functional changes so the workflow could work a little bit better. So we met about 2 weeks ago, and I told him the changes that we needed to make, and so they're in the process of making those changes. So what I would expect within the next month for them to come back with another product for us to look at, and if we okay with it, if it's functional, then they'll put the drawing together and the specs, and at some point or another, it can go out for bids. It's a very, very timely and complex situation to deal with, because that's where the majority of the public contact will be, and we need to make sure that offices, the flow is in place so it's the least intrusive for the public and works best for us. There are a lot of our offices that one work depends upon the work of someone else that need to be very close or contiguous to each other.
Okay, any questions?
Yes.
Yes, Councilwoman Taylor?
For the substation on North Market, where are we with bids?
We've moved Area 1, and say up to the temporary location. The permanent location, it is out to bid, and I think sometime mid next month or before, there will be a bid opening to see which contractor will get the contract to build that station. And if it goes as smooth as the one on Monkhouse, so 7 or 8 months, it could be a brand new building sitting there on the site. I know the Family Justice people is looking so forward to bringing that service to Shreveport. A lot of plans for that site.
On back to the fire station, to the police station where you all discovered the mold. Were there people working in the building?
Yes,
at that
ma'am.
time?
Come on Monkhouse, the
Yes.
traffic building?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am, it is 100% operational. Our entire traffic bureau has moved to that location and is operating.
So they were never in danger of any hazard from the mold?
Not to my knowledge, because it was totally encased inside a wall, inside a wall. It was not stuff on the outside that they could see or was being exposed to. I think one of the contractors was installing something in that wall and noticed some dark discolorations, and that's what brought it to our attention.
Did they move out temporarily until y'all got the samples back?
No, they got it closed off with plastic, I believe, which is the common way that they always do with a small isolated area. They totally encase it in plastic.
Also, Chief, while you're up, what's the young lady name that that was there that I told you about, had top of the line customer service?
Corporal Sparkle Timms.
Well, I'd just like to say for the record that she has top of the line customer service skills.
She is awesome.
She's very professional, and I made a wrong turn. She warned me. She was so nice, I wouldn't even care if she gave me a ticket. I'm just saying, she was just that nice. So, but just let her know that I really appreciate how nice she was.
She is an awesome, conscientious employee, somewhat small in stature,
Yes.
but proficient as could be, one of the top performers. And she also has gotten most of her certification to be an accident investigator, where she goes out and investigate fatality accidents. I'm so proud of her. I used to do that myself, and that is really, really a horrible thing to have to do. Anytime you get called after hours, you automatically know it's tragic.
Well, she's awesome. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Okay, Chief, you can sit for a while.
Okay,
This time we up to the fire stations.
okay.
The next
I
one of
was
those,
out by the fire station today, and I saw a furniture company was delivering some very nice grills and, refrigerators and things like that. I just wanted to let you know before they get.
they made a wrong turn, they were coming to see you. The next fire station you're gonna see bids for fairly soon is the replacement of Fire Station 15, the one that's on 70th Street now, that'll be moving over to Valley View. I don't know how far they are away, but it's not very far for being able to take bids on that one. One of the other big 22 bond projects that we're working on is Shelley and I and the two chiefs are going to try to get together and start setting a scope of work on the academy, because that has some 22 money and some 24 money in it. So we'll be trying to set all that up as quickly as we can. And as you heard yesterday from the discussion, we're also monitoring the costs on Fire Station 20, because we've got to find money for that if it turns out that we need it, and it is likely that some of that may come from interest or whatever on the 22 money, trying to make sure we get it all done. But those are the next things we'll be starting to look for. Getting an appraisal on the land next to Fire Station 3 on 70th. We'll be looking for trying to find a site for sure on the one to replace the one out by General Motors. Chief and I had talked about, we actually thought we might have a site, and the more he looked at it, it wasn't centrally located enough within the area that station serves. So he's back looking, I think, with some real estate help, trying to see where that relocated station might go. But those just got funded, so.
Also, I had some conversation today about the fire station over by the port, and it seemed to be a discrepancy as to, from my understanding, they thought we were supposed to have matching money, and I heard yesterday from Councilman Bucci and from you that was saying that it was never matching money, and so it's kind of up in the air as
Well, that's
to.
probably the way it's going to end up, given the fact that the bids are going to be more than what the port gave us. But I don't think there was ever any discussion originally about whether we were going to be matching, their dollars. They had a certain amount of money they had left over from an old bond issue reserve fund, and so I mean, as it's going to turn out, yes, there's going to be some matching funds simply because the project can't be done for the 800-something thousand the port had.
Okay. Any questions?
My concern is how long it is taking. It's taken an incredibly long time to get this fire station moving, and it's essential to the port. And I guess for me, it would be hard for me to wrap around as much as you all talk about dollars and bidding, that what the port put in on their fire station would just be those dollars, that the city wouldn't be providing some level of support as it relates to this station. So I know Attorney Edwards talked about something that we have to go talk about in executive session, but I'm just talking about the overall construction project of this. They have, I guess, a little bit over $800 and some thousand. I would think that if we knew what had to be done, we could pretty much know that $800 some thousand with the specs that were presented to there was not going to be enough. And I'll let Councilman Butcher handle his stuff that is in his district, but that is an overall concern for me, because fire protection is needed because of the activity that we have out there on the port. And in some of those discussions and going back and forth, I think that you all were fully aware of that. So there is a breakdown in communication when it comes to that station that needs to be corrected.
I don't disagree with you about the scope of the project. Marcus could spend quite a bit of time explaining to you why it's taken as long as it has to get here, because those are the things that we believe are litigation related, that are not things we should speak about in a public session. But remember, we've actually had two other projects go on out there that have had to be done to get ready for this, not just all the testing and all that stuff. They had put another roof on that building, which was already kind of in the works when we started, and they had to replace the HVAC in there because that was, in fact, in large part the cause of some of the problems that were ended up being reported out there. So hopefully we will get the bids back and we will make a quick determination about what we can fund, and we'll be back with you to try to make that happen and try to get this done, because you're right, it's taken too long.
Yeah. How soon will we get a temporary station out there?
I know the chief was going to talk to Eric England at the port about that. I have not heard how that discussion has turned. I don't believe he's here, correct? Chief's not here today. We will get you that information as soon as he reports back to me. Because there's been some discussion about trying, particularly now that it's not, temporary station's a problem when it's really, really cold, because the trucks don't like cold weather, but now that it's starting to get past that, we may be able to do something short-term out there.
Councilwoman Bowles.
Yes, I want to express my concerns also. We do have a really healthy relationship with the port and everything they do for our city, so I do want to make that right. It's not my district, but it's still my city. I've been getting some calls from some citizens from the area because you have that hospital there, Willis Knighton, which is a great partner company for the city. And when you have big corporations like that, and then you talk about fire, a lot can happen. So I think we do need to pay attention to this. I am concerned because if anything happens at the port, you got a lot of chemicals out there. It's not something we need to take our time on.
We agree.
Yes, ma'am.
If you're going to talk, come up. About to get y'all outnumbered, I think.
Good evening.
Hey, Chief.
How y'all doing?
Good.
Okay, Captain Chris Standers could speak to y'all about the trailer, that proposal that Chief Reese was looking at.
Okay.
He's an
From the
infrastructure
beginning,
guy.
I'm the project manager for Shreveport Fire Department, handle all the new construction and remodel stuff. We talked to a city vendor that has like a construction trailer that will hold 3 bedrooms, has a kitchen, they can bring out. The problem, well, it's not a problem, but it's $2,500 a month. I don't know if Chief Reese was in budgeted, it's above my pay grade, but that's something that there's an option. Also, Station 20, when they built it, it's already set up for, they had a double wide when they built that station originally. Those connections are still there. We have the price to do that, bring the rock in, bring in a city contractor to hook up the electricity, the plumbing. Only thing is we have to put the trucks inside Station 20 for insurance ratings, and Chief Trey would tell you about that. But that far as that goes, there is a plan, if want to be implemented, to bring a mobile housing until we get going further.
So it'll be located at 20?
Be located at Station 20
Okay.
on the side of the
On the side
driveway.
of the driveway.
If you go around the backside, there's actually a breaker box that you see in the field. That's where the old hookup was. That's where the sewer was. So it can be hooked up right there, and it can be manned from there. We would just have to have IT come over and with paging systems and all that stuff, but there is a solution.
Do you know how long it'll take to actually do all that? Even
As
roughly?
far as getting the trailer out there, they had plenty of them. The companies out of Halton, they could drop the trailer off. Like, they had plenty of them on site because they usually deal in the oil field end, and they have a lot of the 3 bedrooms because most of the oil field companies don't use those big ones. So there's plenty of them there. They can move it there pretty quickly and this was months ago. I mean, we could reach out to them and see if those are still available, but it's a local entity.
Well, I know it sounds like something that the council would like us to do, and why don't y'all go ahead and start running your traps and see what it takes to actually get it done. And my one advice to you, given what we've been doing with all the police stuff, is get way out in front of the phone and IT stuff and all that, because it just invariably, that takes longer than you think it's going to.
Yes, sir.
Yes, so I'm Archie Watson, Chief of Maintenance, and just like Captain Chris said, that those trucks have to be parked inside for PIL insurance rating, so they got to be undercover. So that was the big concern when they moved the truck to Station 20. It sat outside for a little bit, but as cold weather come in, that's why we had to relocate it to a fire station so it would not freeze.
So the station, you are allowed to move trucks in there now, correct?
The station does not have any power to it.
No, I'm
Anyone
saying
anymore.
parking trucks. Where would you park
The
the trucks?
thoroughfare, yes, I'm assuming you could move the station, go ahead and open up the door, or temporary power for the bay doors to run the trucks out of the bay doors. But when they go to start the actual building process and the renovation process, those trucks may have to be relocated
Correct.
again.
Correct.
Once it's warmer weather, can the truck stay outside, or does the truck have to be inside?
It's supposed to be undercover per insurance rating, for the Class 1 insurance rating.
Because that's the real complication, is at some point they're going to start the construction in there.
They're about to
And although most of it is not in the engine room,
Correct.
that they'll have to figure out a way to see if they can make that work. But that's what they need to do, is come up with a plan for what might work, and let us see, as soon as the bids come in, we'll be talking to you about how to actually get the construction project done.
Councilwoman Bowles.
Yeah, I have a question. Okay, so we put the temporary trailers there. Those are there to house firemen, right?
Correct.
But what good would it do if the fire truck is not there?
There's no
The fire
reason to
truck
do
will-
it unless the fire truck's gonna be there.
Yeah, the fire
Right.
truck will have to
That's
be
the
there.
discussion, is
Okay.
trying to figure out how to put it inside, and if it is possible to put it inside, at least for some of the time while the construction's ramping up, because when they're doing the kitchen and stuff and all that, and the bedrooms, it shouldn't be a big deal, but at some point, there's work that has to be done in the main room. At that point, they're gonna have to be somewhere else for a little while.
Okay, thank you. I got lost right there.
Okay. Thank you.
Would y'all ask the port, can they build a garage on site? Mr. Dart?
I'm sorry,
You
my
asked
ears
the
are stopped up
port,
today.
can they build a garage on site?
That's something we can ask. I mean, they certainly have an interest in us being there as quickly as we can be there, so I will ask the chief to speak with Eric about that.
Mr. Dirk, I got one more question. At one point, I know we were housing firemen at the port to help out with the situation. Are they no longer there?
They haven't been there in some time.
Okay, okay. Do you think it'd be an option that we can get them back out there to help until, so we don't be in a rush? I'm just trying to think of different options, not to put so much on, we got a lot of building maintenance going on right now. Is that an option maybe?
I can't speak for fire, but I know that the chief was somewhat uncomfortable with the additional response time coming back into town
Okay,
for
okay.
being out there, that it served the port wonderfully. But
Okay.
if they had to come back into town, it was about 5 minutes of pretty much dead time to get back into the places they served that are
Okay.
in the city limits. So.
Okay.
But that's understandable. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And the port was using that building, that open space at that time. Actually, they needed the space back
Okay.
to conduct other meetings, so we had to move out.
Okay,
Thank you,
thank you so
Captain.
much.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Watson.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councilman Brooks, do you have any questions about anything? We're doing the update on substation, main police station, and fire station. You have any questions there?
It's the main police station, or where are we on that? I don't mean to, we can talk about it.
Chief,
Let me,
come
I can
in.
give you the one sentence version.
Okay.
The chief and the architect, and the chief and his staff and the architect had come up with a schematic for how it all might fit in. But the chief and his crew felt like that some rearranging needed to be done for workflow and things like that. So the architect is now back at work trying to rearrange the pieces so that the workflow goes like the chief and his folks would like it to do. And as soon as they get that, then we should be able to agree on something and go forward.
Any other questions? Thank you. At this time, we're up to the update on the 2022 and 2024 bonds. Mr. Dart, the floor is yours.
It's my understanding that at some point next month, we will be selling the last of the 2022 bonds. You've already approved all that here, so it's a matter now of just taking them to market. I have been on several email chains where they're marking up the official statements and things like that, so that's moving. As far as 22 expenses and stuff, I think we've kind of gone through most of that. 24, and I'll ask any questions you have, but you know, the main things there are Station 15, the headquarters building, and then 12 once we get a site for it. The 24 stuff, we are working, those of you who are on architects and engineer selection, there have been a number of those already. There are going to be several more. And there were some contracts that were on-demand contracts that were signed before all that. So we have projects working right now with the hope of having some things for construction toward the end of the summer, and there'll be a whole bunch of them coming at that point. I think in the next month or two, everything that was funded and designed, as far as streets and drainage, we'll have an engineer or an architect assigned to it. SPAR's got some of theirs out right now as well, and shouldn't be too far behind that, but they had some working. I think for instance, the spray ground at Bilberry didn't take work. I think I think the purchase has been made on that. It's just, it didn't install, but because it was state contract, it didn't have to do anything else. So that, you may have the honor of having the first 24 project that I'm aware of, but there are several others. Curtis Lane, that I think the two of y'all share, is one that David's trying to get done. Stratmore, which is in Mr. Butcher's district, trying to get done. There's a stack of them. There's the bridge at Stoner and Line Avenue is likely to be one of the fairly early ones, but they're making good progress getting things started, and hopefully some of the things that are just funded for design we'll be able to get going sooner. And the one that I think you may be the most interested in, Ms. Bowman, is
Quail Creek.
the Pines Road is not funded for construction right now.
Right.
But the promise that we have made to David is if your design firm can get that one ready before some of the other things are ready, we'll move money around. There's no reason for something to sit while we're waiting for a design to get done. So that seems to be at least a possibility for later this year as well.
I appreciate that. When I did talk to the design team, one of the things that we had in the A&E committee was the Quail Creek.
And it's,
That bridge where a lot of the water was coming from, so that's going to help with some of the problem with the water there.
yeah,
So,
Quail Creek's, that's been through A&E, and
Yes.
they're getting a contract signed as far as I can tell.
I think it just got signed. I just saw it came through.
Okay.
What is going on with the Linwood Bridge?
David, you might do Linwood Bridge for me. Drove back from our intergovernmental meeting that way the other day, so I thought about it. So, yeah.
Hello, committee members, administration, David Smith, city engineer. Asking about the Linwood Bridge. We just had the A&E selection for it. Fortin Tablata was chosen as the design consultant, and we're moving towards getting them contracted. Once they begin, they'll give us a timeline on what they think their schedule will be and when we can see construction. Some of you may know they were on board last year. They did a preliminary study on the bridge, so they do have a bit of a head start. Any questions?
Kind of in the same area, the big raise grant that's Kings Highway, that actually is being handled through the state, but they just did AE selection as well, and they, I believe, have picked the design firm for that.
Yes, sir. The secretary.
That's a local firm. We got fortunate there. There's a local firm, IE Fenner, is going to do that particular design project.
So, Dark, let me ask you, thank you, David.
Thank you, David.
I want to ask this too. What's going on with the Wildwood location?
I'm sorry, say again?
The Wildwood location.
Shelley and Russell can do that one. I know there was some work on windows they were trying to get finished up so that they could move in. Y'all can kind of update where all that is. Wildwood's almost ended like substation number 5, as it's turned out.
We've got window replacement going on there, and that material has been ordered. They're having to replace the aluminum frames as well as the windows themselves. We have waterproofing of the buildings scheduled, similar to what we did here. We've done that at Southern Hills. You know, we're trying to do that everywhere for the longevity of our buildings. There's been build out, all the flooring has been replaced. Our painter is set to go in once those windows are done. We don't want to do the windows without that. But it's moving along really well. The chief has an officer who is out there pretty much daily, and he keeps us informed too, and he said progress is moving really well. We're hoping they're going to be in there in March.
Did that entire building have to be gutted?
No, not at all.
Okay.
It was in really pretty good shape, other than
But we
the
have tried
windows.
to do more out there than we probably would have otherwise, because they're there permanently.
That's
It's
a
not
permanent
temporary
home.
location or anything.
Can we get a breakdown of all of this construction that's going on at these buildings and tell us which streams that this money is coming from? Will you submit that to the committee, please, and to the council?
Okay.
We can.
Most of the work on Wildwood and traffic has come from the extra ARP money that you added to the substation project at the end of last year.
You can give me a breakdown so I can see it.
They can pull that together for us.
Thank you. Also, thank you very much.
Thanks, Shelley.
Mr. Dark, on the 2022 bond, I had a sidebar with Mr. Bersada, I guess a week or so ago, and he was saying that he thought that they would be sold at the end of this month. So is that a different conversation from what y'all, he said to me that possibly this month, the end of the month, and you're saying next month.
They're not gonna be sold between now and Friday. I can pretty much bet on that. So, I mean, given where they are in the process, they're not too far away from having a final official statement, because they're working, in a lot of ways, they're working off the last one that they did for the 24s with all the city data. They sent a review copy out one day last week, because we sent our copies back, and I'm expecting one pretty soon, but they're clearly not gonna sell them between now and this Friday.
Okay, so you're saying?
I'm saying next month.
22 and 24 next month?
Well, 24 is already sold.
Okay.
They did that before the end of the year.
Right. So 22 by the end of next month?
That is what I am being told, and there's no reason it shouldn't happen.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Mr. Dark, has an offer been made on 8509 Line Avenue?
The only thing, nothing's changed since yesterday. I made the phone call, or made the email and a phone call to the broker who's in charge of that property, told him what was coming, sent him a copy of the appraisal. I actually texted him right before this meeting and said, have we gotten any tentative word? And did not get a reply. But we will be working with them to make the formal offer sometime in the next day or two.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any questions on the 2022, 2024 bond? If not, we'll move to the next item. Our update on the drinking water. Mr. Daniels, the mic is going to be yours.
Lucky him.
So is there any way we could get a little more heat in here? My barber cut my hair a little too short and my head is cold. I was just wondering if we could get a little. Mr. Daniel, would you be kind enough to give us an update on the water? From my understanding, instead of getting better, it seemed to be getting worse, but the mic is yours.
I would, William Daniel, Director of the Water and Sewer. Well, we think it's getting better. So it's certainly leaving the plant a lot better. It does take a long time to get through the system. We started flushing today. We're going to start flushing the main transmission lines. We're going to work our way down the corridors with the restaurants and into neighborhoods, and then finally to the dead ends on the system. But what I wanted to show you was this graph on the Cross Lake geosmin. And the geosmin is what causes the earthy smell and taste in the water. If you look on the left-hand portion of the graph, that 1540 and 2120, that is 2025 numbers. You can see that they are well in excess of anything that we've ever had in the lake. And our plant, when it was redesigned in 2020, It was never designed to treat numbers this high because we've never ever seen them in the lake like this before. The previous highest spike we ever had was 1310, which was in 2020. And that did cause sort of a poor tasting water, but it was a very quick spike and it came right back down almost immediately in the next month. In January, when it went up to 1540, we thought that it would also be coming back down, but instead it went up to 2020. Just to put this kind of in perspective, Geosamine has an extremely low threshold where people can smell and taste it. So people can detect geosamine at 4 parts per trillion. 1 drop of geosamine in the water, 1 drip of geosamine, when we're making 30 million gallons a day, we'll run the 1 drop to 20 parts per trillion in just 2 weeks. So when you get that in the water, it's very difficult to get out. Now, we have tweaked our treatment. One way you get rid of geosamine is with ozone. The ozone breaks down the cell and takes it away. The other way is with activated carbon. We had many years ago an activated carbon system at the water plant. We have put that carbon system, we rebuilt it basically, and we put it back in service. We started it up today. So we're thinking that that's going to have a huge impact as well. But the water leaving the plant is actually tastes and smells pretty good. Not great yet, but much, much better than it has before. It's still got a very, very slight odor to it, but we think with the activated carbon, that ought to clear it up. So be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Yes.
Good afternoon, Mr. Daniel. This is not related to the taste of the water. I'm
Very happy to answer a question not related to the taste of the water.
okay. I'm a little confused on the most recent apartment complexes that I think we had to shut the water off at.
Yes, sir.
And I've discussed this with the mayor, and I don't quite understand why we let the bills run up so high. Were they get into 6 figures before? I know we've addressed this with the $100 per unit deposit, which I don't believe is enough. The Jolie Apartments, for example, was about 480 units. That would be a $48,000 deposit. I think they owe the city $200,000 or $300,000. I mean,
it just really doesn't take long, Councilman, for a big bill to run up. That's the problem.
How long does it take to get to 100,000?
Well, if they have a leak, it could take 3 or 4 months. So what we do is, and we are actually moving to put this into our ordinance, but you send out a bill, they have a leak, it could be $20,000, $25,000. So they do not.
For a month?
For a month.
Yes, sir.
So they don't pay it, and the next bill is the same, it's 50. So then we start calling, and they say, oh, we're going to send you some money, we're going to send you some money. They may send you $5,000, and the next time it's $75,000. So and then they send you a little more money, and they promise to pay. And you don't want to turn it off because
of the tenants.
The residents are paying. And so pretty quickly it gets out of control. We're not going to let that happen anymore.
Hypothetically speaking, if they didn't have a leak, it wouldn't be $25,000 a month, correct?
It depends on the size of the apartment. It could be anywhere between $5,000 and $15,000 a month.
Okay. So when it's $25,000 a month, obviously there's an issue That's not normal water usage.
Not normally, no, sir. That would have to be a very large unit.
Okay.
It doesn't take long to get out. I mean, if you are the slightest bit generous in letting them try to make payments, it gets out of hand pretty quickly.
The reason I have people ask me, while we passed a 10% water and sewage increase recently, which we needed to for our bond, meet our obligations, but then just a couple of weeks later, it comes out that these 3 complexes owed the city several $100,000. So you can see the average citizen's like, if I don't pay my bill for 2 months, I get cut off.
Probably not, but
Well, okay.
no, I mean, we honestly, up until a year ago, we were very generous with not turning people off. I mean, we did everything we could not to turn somebody off. That was kind of the mindset from the previous administration. We didn't want to turn people off. And you can understand that, because once you turn the water off into a house, you really create a public health issue, because toilets can't flush, nobody can take showers, you can't cook if there's kids in the house. It disrupts their schooling if they even go to school. It causes people with jobs to have trouble, doing their job appropriately. And you really, for cutting off a $200 water bill, you can create multiple thousands of dollars in other agencies coming in to want to help. And so our instructions were to work with these people and try to get them back on their feet and let them pay their bill. Of course, some of them, they never had any intention of paying their bill, and you get in trouble that way. So we have moved forward with a very, I think, fair schedule of cutoffs. If you've gone 85 days without paying your residential water bill and your commercial water bill, we're going to turn your water off.
85 days?
85 days.
Right. And I commend y'all for trying to help, but I think at the same time, we keep putting this pacifier or putting a Band-Aid. At the end of the day, those same citizens are not really getting relief. It's temporary relief. And then once we put a Band-Aid on it, and then now they have no water, they have nowhere to go. We have a housing crisis here, so we're really not making it a better situation. It's making it a worse situation.
Well, I certainly agree with you on the apartment complexes. That is,
Right.
It's turned it, but I think the nature of those businesses was that they were not good landlords to begin
Right.
with.
But I still want us, and I said in the audit and finance meeting, I do want us to make sure we're operating this as a general fund, and we're not just making our own rules. It is an enterprise fund, so we have to make sure we're doing what's best for the city.
Right, and we have I think, like I said, I think we have a very fair schedule that we're operating by. We're working, if someone doesn't pay after the first bill goes out, after the first bill is due, we're trying to call them and get them on a payment plan. If we can't do that, then we're sending them a notice that we're going to turn them off, and then we're going to turn them off.
Okay, I just want to be transparent. I am going to ask for another audit on that. We are going to be watching this. Mr. Dark, I need you to help us on this, because we keep getting further and further in the hole. We need to attack this and make sure we're doing the right thing, and we can get this under control. Because right now, our water department is probably one of our worst departments, and we know water is needy. We need water, but we got some clearing up to do.
Absolutely.
Also, the legislation that I'm sponsoring about the water department, I've worked with Mr. Daniel on it, and the attorney, and that will give them some teeth as to doing what we should have been doing. Then once this is passed, it will give them some teeth. Also, the ordinance that will, starting with apartments, that each tenant would have their own water meter, so that you won't have to rely on the owner of the complex having to pay their water bill. They'll be able to pay their own water bill, and that will eliminate the problem as well.
Yeah, everybody having their own meter is the real solution to this problem.
Right.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Mr. Daniel, the water issue is an ongoing issue, and I understand that it gives you probably heartburn and heartache, and it's doing the same for us. Recently, we saw out in Southeast Shreveport in brown water. I think it was another location in the Southern Hills area. That seems to be a continuous problem. And then the response comes where you all go and flush the lines. The concern for me is why are we continuously having brown water? I understand that you talk about this particular, I don't know, geosamine or whatever this is called. And we talk about the smell and sometimes the water tastes bad, and it does. How is it, or what is needed for us to fix this? Because you said that our plan is not designed, for what we're dealing with right now. And so my point is that we need to fix it. So what is it that you need from us to fix it? We're not accustomed to dealing with this as a city. We've been through floods, we've been through low lake levels, and just as you said, we've not had to deal with this. And so now that we are, and then once we think that we have the problem going on, repaired, then here it is again with somebody showing brown water. And it's very difficult that restaurants or even homes don't want to use our water, because no matter what you tell somebody about how this water is safe, there is nothing safe looking about brown water. It's definitely nothing safe if you smell the water in that person's mind, and I think you can understand that.
I completely understand.
But what I know is that we need to fix it. Are we getting any feedback from the state as it relates to, is there another outside team that needs to be called in? Is it some fracking close to our watershed that's causing some problems with the runoff that may be going into Cross Lake? We need to find out what the issue is so we can fix it, so that will give you all some relief and it'll give us some relief, because I know that you hate to keep saying that, okay, this is good, and then somebody posts another picture of brown water coming out of their faucet.
Our manganese levels are very low. I mean, they're what you would normally see from the water coming out of Cross Lake. That's what turns the water brown. So if there's brown water in pipes, it should be incredibly isolated, and it's probably the result of a repair that was made somewhere nearby, because the water should not have any sort of colorization to it, because we have nothing in the water that would cause it to be to have any color at all. The smell of the water, again, that's the geosamine, and we are working on that. So let's go back. In this summer when we had the high manganese levels in the water, again, they were elevated beyond anything that has ever happened in Cross Lake. One of the great things about having Cross Lake as opposed to getting your water out of the Red River is you're pretty confident that the water in Cross Lake is going to behave in a certain way pretty much all the time. And so we have our treatment processes aligned so that we can treat the water that as we understand it when it comes out of the lake and into our plant. Well, starting in March or April of this year, the nature of the water coming out of Cross Lake changed. And, we had the very high levels of manganese in the water. And we fought that. There was there was a chlorine dioxide system at the plant that we didn't put a new one in because we never had high levels of manganese in the water. And when we put the ozone in, it would take care of it. So we had to reactivate the chlorine dioxide system out at the plant to treat the manganese. And now we've done a very successful job in treating the manganese. And then the geosmin, we're going along. We treat for algae usually up until October, and then we quit. And you treat it with copper sulfate, and that inhibits the algae from growing in the water. And then we don't treat usually until starting in March. Well, then starting in December, the algae started growing in the lake tremendously, releasing the geosmin, and that has never happened before.
So are any other municipalities around seeing this in their water supply
There's
as well?
every municipality that gets their water out of a lake is having issues with manganese this summer and geosmin now.
Do those particular municipalities have any similarities as we do when it comes to what may be probable causes for this?
The only similarities is that it's a body of surface water. That's the similarity. I mean, it's happening in the oceans as well. And it's happening not just in the United States and North America, but in Europe and everywhere else too. You're getting this algae growth that's not normal for this time of year.
So are scientists looking into why this is happening? Because I know when you talk about things keep you up at night. So I know this keeps you up at night, especially when you've never seen anything like this. So that's what I'm just trying to find out. I mean, we could talk about this more later, but I'm just trying to figure out what help do you need from us?
We've brought in consultants to look at the water. We have worked with other communities and reached out to them and asked them, hey, what are y'all doing? Are y'all seeing this? How's it helping? We're looking at some technology that maybe we can put in the lake to, if this is going to be a continuous thing, well, we're obviously going to need to change our treatment system to do this. There's just a lot more questions than there are answers at this point. We don't know why. I mean, we know the water's warmer, so maybe that's it. And but all of our experts they've all got really smart, well thought out opinions, but they're just kind of opinions at this point. I mean, they're theories as to why it's happening. No one can say definitively, oh yeah, this is why the algae is growing like it is in the lake. So, I mean, what we're going to do is just become much more nimble in being able to react to the treatment, having the chlorine dioxide system and reactivating our activated carbon system. That will eliminate the taste and odor issue once we get that going. But there are some things that we could do at the plant, like our plant is old. All of the basins are, they used to have some, automatic cleaning equipment in them. That's the companies that made it are out of business. There's no putting it back in. So when when we had the manganese, it was sitting, at the bottom like a filter bed of solid manganese at the bottom. And so we have to go in there and clean it out by hand. We have to get a crane to drop a piece of equipment in there to clean it. So we kind of need to modernize our plant a little bit when it comes to being able to do some things more efficiently and effectively. Because when you have these issues, you've got to clean out your basins regularly because it gets trapped in those basins. And like I said, one drop of geosmin is all it takes to basically contaminate by smell and taste. Because geosmin is not even regulated by EPA. It's a totally harmless chemical that just tastes and smells bad. So, but just a drop of it in your basin, if you don't have it 100% clean, can cause, you know, your entire basin to have that smell and taste issues. So being able to clean out the basins more effectively and quickly, that would be something that would be really, really helpful. But, you know, I have a consent decree to deal with as well. So and that's what I think we've been talking to EPA about is there's a disconnect. Oh, fix your sewer, fix your sewer, fix your sewer. Well, yeah, we need to fix the sewer, but when the sewer overflows, we can go out there and clean it up, and it's messy, but we get it cleaned up, and it affects a few people. When the water is bad, or we have a freeze and nobody has water for 10 days, that's 190,000 people that are getting affected. So we've got to strike a balance on how we're spending our money, because we've spent most of our money on sewer in the years before I got here and the years now. The mayor put the money in the bond to do some water work, which was desperately needed. But we still got, you know, more work to do. Our infrastructure is old. Our plants, they're in good condition mechanically for the most part, but they need some updating as well. So it's just a matter of staying on top of everything, and I spend a huge portion of my budget on maintenance, which it's like if you have a really old house and you're constantly fixing things, as opposed to, if you're constantly patching the roof as opposed to replacing the roof. So that's what we spend a lot of time doing.
So I'll ask you some more questions so we get to the next agenda item.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have the update on the lighting in the neighborhood. Mike, would you like to come? Jarvis, y'all want to come and talk about lighting? Or who's here for lighting? Okay. Huh? Okay, Mike.
Good afternoon, council members. I was hoping you would keep Mr. Daniels up here a few more minutes, and it would be closer to 3. We continue to work with the city.
We didn't want to let you down.
We continue to work with the city on the request to add streetlights. Some changes that we have made in the last few weeks is we now have a dedicated contract engineer to speed up some of the engineering that's involved. Because in most cases, it's not just hanging a light on a pole. We have to look at the capacity of that pole. Is the light going where we want it to go? And we feel like we are making progress on those. And I know there's a number of jobs still in the queue right now. We've got some jobs that we've engineered, and we're waiting on signed letters of agreement back from the city so we can get started on those. But that's kind of where we are, unless there's something else that you have or that Robert has.
So how long you've been waiting on the signed letters from the city?
I don't know. I don't believe it's very long.
Okay. Because the number one complaint that we receive all the time is that the city is dark. So I'll yield to him.
Okay. And I will say this, in some of the established neighborhoods, and I know close to my house, there's a boulevard, and there are live oak trees or some sort of oak tree in the boulevard. And because there's no tree trimming or very little money for tree trimming anymore from the city, that impacts the amount of light that gets down to the street. Now, the city did a great job on Piermont and Southfield the past few months, and we coordinated that project to switch all those out to LED lights, and the trees have been trimmed, so that's lighting up that thoroughfare a lot better. But a lot of the neighborhoods, especially where street lights may be spaced further apart, trees are a big issue.
So I'm Robert Thomasek, traffic engineer. Like you said, we're working with them. Since our last infrastructure meeting, the police have finished their canvassing of all the streets in the city, and we have presented all the lights that are out to SWEPCO. We were keeping them informed as they went along. But I know the police have mentioned that before, but I wanted to let y'all know during this committee meeting. So we're working with SWEPCO to get as many new lights up as possible too. Like you said, there is a process they have to go through. So I am excited that they have a contractor on that's going to help us move that along. If there's any specific street, I have a list that I've been keeping. Otherwise, we're moving forward and making sure we get everything addressed.
Yes, ma'am.
On your list, do you have Juella Avenue? Do you have Juella Avenue on your list?
Juella.
Uh-huh.
I mean, Juella would be a maintenance, so I do not. There isn't anywhere on Juella that would need any new lights.
Right. If you pass over the bridge between 70th and Hollywood, right there, almost every last one of those lights are out. If you
Okay.
go on down to 2 more blocks down, Lakeshore, Juella, you got some out in that area. Juella is an area where it's really dark sometimes at night. And I did notice in some areas of Juella, you did update with the LED lights, and it looks really good. But you still have some areas and some little pockets where it's still really dark.
Well, I will look into that. Most of those, not all of them, on Juella are SWEPCO's lights.
Okay.
The city does have some of them.
Okay.
Because they're attached to the signals and the bridge. We did do the bridge.
Okay. Another area had a concern,
Okay.
I-20 and Pines Road. I know it was some electrical issues there. Do you have an update on that one?
I do not.
Okay.
Is it still out?
It's been out for almost a year now. I think when the storm came through, then it started working for like maybe 3 weeks, and then it's been out again. So right now, it's currently out.
I will check on that if that's a SWEPCO, something to do with the line, or if it's on our end.
Okay, thank you.
I know that we had some lighting out on Harry Huckabee, and on Lakeshore, closer to South Lakeshore intersection.
Okay.
We also had, I want to say, in interior neighborhoods on Pure Avenue. And Mr. Robert, I know that, we submitted a list a couple of years ago. So if you could give us an update on any of those repairs that you've already made, and we can
Okay.
see what is outstanding, that would be great.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes, I do know that to help Robert out, we do have a couple of light issues with the breakers on I-20. So we're working on it. We do have some guys out there actually right now, they're working on the breakers. So the breaker issue at I-20 and Pines. And I'll get an update to you. I'll email you later on about that situation.
Thank you. I want to tell you thank you for the sidewalk on Lakeshore.
Okay.
It looks really good. The
You're
crates are gone. Thank you for that.
Yes, ma'am. About the tree trimming, Mr. Corbin got up here and talked about the tree trimming situation. A lot of those trees that are covered by the lights are citizen trees. And we have been writing letters to them, letting them know that, hey, you have to trim this tree. If not, we'll come trim it. It's a possibility it wouldn't be perfect the way you like it, but we have been sending out letters to those citizens about trimming the trees in front of the lights. And we did work well with them on the Southfield project, which was a good project. It was kind of like a start on what we could do together if we had the funds in place to do that, but we just don't, because we have, not only do we have tree situations with lights, we have trees and right-of-ways issues all over the city. So we have funds for that, but we just can't put all that into tree trimming for lighting situations. But we have been working with SWEPCO and doing a great job with them on that. And I will have an update with you. The same thing with Lakeshore. They're having a breaker issue out there.
Okay.
And once they fix that, I'll
Because
give
I know
you an
you
update.
all like fix the lights and then they go right back out?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
We don't know if it's some shortage issues or whatever. I'm not sure what the case is on that, but it keeps triggering and it caused a problem. It's the same thing on 3132. We came out and fixed that. It was looking real good, and then a month on down the line, they were all out again. So once we figure out what's going on with the shortage issues, which these lighting situations are very old. So what we're going in, anytime we find an issue, we update it, and it possibly on down the line, another older issue will come in place.
Okay. Mr. Corbin, as soon as those, agreements get signed, how soon do you think the contractor will be out on the repairs? And it's just a guesstimation.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to jump on it as soon as we get, everything lined up with the letter of agreement and can move forward. Some of it is supply chain issues still. Do we have all the parts that we need to do it? But, I would say within a couple months.
Okay. And I know you all had some delays because you all were working the major storms that we had around the United States too. So hopefully we just can get the city lit up, and then residents will be able to see that in interior neighborhoods. That would also be an aid to SPD in going in some of those areas that they have to patrol, so they can have some lighting.
And I got an update this morning. I think we were aware of 70 outstanding lights that are out, either citizen reported or what's come through SPD and then passed on to us.
Okay, thank
So
you.
that number's going down.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And we do recommend that the citizens, if they do have light issues, to make sure that they call the traffic engineering office. That way we could keep a docket of what's out, and we'll be able to communicate with SWEPCO. That number is 673-6181. And what you do is you call, make sure you have the light pole information, and he reported to SWEPCO, which we have a direct contact with SWEPCO, and they go out and repair those lights. And it may be a process. And also on the new light installments, the way we work on it is we send over whichever the location is on the installments, we get an estimate back from SWEPCO. And if it's something that we could do, we'll give them the go ahead. If it's not, then we'll communicate with you guys on what we can and cannot do.
Okay.
All right, thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before we go to the next item, there's a lady here that I've been looking for since the year it rained a lot. And before we go to the next item, I just got to say hello to Miss Roxanne. How you doing? I didn't know if my glasses was failing me or not, but Roxanne, how you doing? All right, thank you. Next is update on the swimming pools and parks. Shelley, come on, the mic is yours.
Okay, so we've got a lot of aquatic projects coming up. We'll start with the pools. We have bid and awarded the contract for both David Raines and Bill Cockrell. Both of those will be renovated to include, a major water feature, which is the slides at both of those parks. We talked this morning with our contractor about the timing on all of that with summer close, getting so close. We believe what we're going to do this summer is operate the pools as they are. They will start the minute pools close on the renovations. At the same time, we'll be bidding Airport Park and Southern Hills updates so that they can start as soon as, hopefully not too far after that. It takes about, what we learned this morning, several months to fabricate these slides. They would not begin the fabrication until we were assured we had to have a permit from the Department of Health. They started that process in October, and we've had a lot of back and forth with them approving the playground, the swimming pools in general. We got that permit, and they have given their fabricator the go-ahead for the pool, for the slides. We did talk to them about the possibility of renovating and then pausing and then bringing the slides in. But the way they're installed, they said it would cost us some additional dollars to do it that way. But we will have swimming at both pools and then redo those as soon as the season's over. But we thought it was more important to have pools open than to be under construction during that time.
So the pools will open in the summer, and then the renovation will start.
We can
when-
start that when we close the pools, we close those the weekend before school starts. We think that's around April 15th. August, I'm sorry, August. So we will begin that as soon as that happens. They'll be ready to go.
Okay, and so downtown with the sprays?
The spray park downtown is moving along. He started down there, and that was about a 120-day project. And so he should be well on his way and finished by the time the warm weather comes.
Okay.
We also are doing the spray grounds we opened the one at Valencia. There will be one at Bilberry and one at CC Antoine. And we hope that all of those will be open by this summer. Okay.
When are we looking at the park to open at CC Antoine?
Opening the park there. I think they're substantially complete. They're doing some final work there, but I think they're going to be ready to have a grand opening there. It's absolutely stunning. We went in and took if you haven't been by, we took the old bathroom building down because we built new bathrooms, and that really changed the landscape and the way it looks. So we want to thank Terrence. He was a big help on that. So lots of work going on in that area.
Can you give us an update on the boat launch? Because we've been getting calls.
Public boat launch.
Yes.
That has been, we laugh or cry. That has been a very tough project to find a contractor who meets the insurance requirements for working over water and that do these types. And we found someone, but he's used to building piers for just the general public, and it took him some time to meet our requirements for doing work with the city, but he's there. He's ordered his materials, and it's about a 2-day project once those come in, and I think those should be in. He couldn't work, I know last week because of the cold, so you should see work starting there.
Okay. What's that?
Any other questions?
Sorry.
Sorry. Any other questions?
Thank you, Shelley.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Shelley.
Thanks.
If there is nothing else to come before the Infrastructure Committee, then this meeting is adjourned. Thank you. This man right here.